The home of the common Joe and the common Sally in the know, even more so than all those media talking heads. Just when you think you have conference realignment figured out, we all know the Pac-12 and the Big 12 thing going on. That's the main thing, and you think everything you can know about conference realignment is right in front of you. Here comes a curveball from Notre Dame, who we thought was concrete as an independent going forward. But it seems like there's reports surfacing that Notre Dame may have came to an ACC type epiphany. Let's talk about it. Here they come, riding on in once again. It's the Outlaw Posse is now in effect. And today's Outlaw Posse member shoutouts are as follows. Keelback first, Heath Stokes, Kuz's Corner, and David Cummings are the chosen four horsemen for the day to help us in our college football invasion that we do just about every other day. This is the Outlaw of College Football. And I can be reached on Twitter at OCF Productions. Also, if you want to get you a badge and get deputized and saddle up and mount up and be an Outlaw Posse and get your four horsemen shout out, all you got to do is hit that little join button next to the subscribe button. It's just $2.99 a month, 75 cents a week. Now, getting right to it here. Just when you thought Notre Dame was out of play, it seems like they may be in play. Now, sure enough, more than likely, as always, Notre Dame will find some way to stay independent because that's their thing, man. You got to admit, it does make them somewhat unique in the fact that they're able to do that. And there are a few other independent teams out there, but none of them have been able to survive like Notre Dame. So they're really clinging to that independence. It's going to be like, as the old adage goes, pulling teeth to get Notre Dame to join a conference. But if there's a $60 million gap in what they're going to make, or even a $30 million gap, those teeth will come out, right? I would think so. And from this article by Front Office Sports, I also got this from John Kurtz as well. He's got a great podcast. Check him out. Notre Dame, it says, wants to triple their media rights to $65 million to $75 million per year. They want to be more along the lines and close to what Ohio State, Michigan, and teams like that in their geographical region are going to be making from their deal that they signed with Fox and CBS. Their deal will be around $7 billion. That's going to average out to $90 million per team. And from what it's saying on here, NBC's contract with Notre Dame runs out in 2024. They've been with NBC since 1991. So it's going to be some nostalgia that's going to be, a lot of the old guard's not going to want to change that, even for big-time money. But the big difference in money here is such a big difference that I think they might end up coming around. It says here it's $22 million a year from NBC for football and $11 million from the ACC for everything else, and that's $33 million a year. That's a far, far cry from $90 million a year. Notre Dame wants to come somewhere in between, I think, just so they can get the best of both worlds, in their opinion, which would be able to keep their independence and get closer, maybe the $65 to $75 million year range. And they might be able to get it. I mean, if they was asking for $90 million a year, then maybe they would be forced to join a conference. But that's still $15 million. May not sound like a lot to all these big wigs out there that are brokering these deals, but still a lot of money. And the fact that Ohio State and Michigan is going to be making that much more money than Notre Dame, it's going to stick in their craw a little bit. And it's going to probably hurt them in recruiting somewhat against these teams. So I'm thinking that they will probably end up coming around and finally join the conference. Everybody's got this thing in their head that they automatically assume that it's going to be the Big Ten. And more than likely it will. But the guy in this article that they wrote about, Patrick Drake, who is a Fox Sports executive, says Notre Dame will either join the Big Ten or SEC to meet this demand that either one of these conferences would do. And that's what really stuck out to me. I mean, all he had to do was just say, hey, if they join the Big Ten, then, you know, they might be able to get the kind of money they want. But he stuck the SEC in there. Not me. I'm an SEC guy, but I didn't stick this in here. Patrick Drake of the NBC chairman, executive here, says that Notre Dame may consider joining the Big Ten or the SEC. Now, that's a huge curveball that nobody really has thought about. Now, I have mentioned it a few times in the past, just him hauling around and, you know, trying to prod the bull a little bit just to aggravate. But if you think about it, Notre Dame has always wanted to have some kind of little badge or honor to sort of hold himself above the Big Ten, who, if you know your history back in the day, Notre Dame wanted to be in the Big Ten way back when. It's like in the 1930s and then on into the 60s, and the Big Ten turned them down. Well, Notre Dame turned tables on them. The Big Ten wanted them in the 90s when they added Penn State, and then they wanted them here recently, and Notre Dame's turned them down both times. But they always had that little independent thing to hold on. We got our own network, NBC, and they've always had something to hold over the Big Ten. If they join the Big Ten, that'll no longer be the case, right? Unless they join the SEC, who has claimed, I think, 13 or 14 national championships this century alone. Out of the 22 national championships, the SEC has 14 of them, right? 13 or 14. And Notre Dame would have something different that they could hold over the Big Ten. And not different in such a way that it might be a hindrance to them, but different in such a way that, hey, this makes Notre Dame stand out from the rest of the teams in their geographical region, those hotbeds of recruits in the states of Ohio and Pennsylvania and New York and places like that, Michigan, where Notre Dame recruits a lot. So you guys and gals tell me, what do you think about all this? Do you think Notre Dame may finally end up joining a conference, that this whole money issue, because the ACC sort of came to this same epiphany. Clemson and Florida State, most notably, were noticing how much more money all these other teams were going to be making compared to them. All these other teams in their geographical regions were going to be making compared to them. And so now Notre Dame's starting to have the same realization. So do you think they finally join them? Because that's a big gap in money. I think it could actually force them to finally join a conference. They said the wild card in this is the new athletic director, Pete Bavec. Probably butchered his name. He's a former NBC sports chairman, and he's an alumnus of Notre Dame. So you're thinking, well, if he's an alumnus of Notre Dame, and his father also graduated from Notre Dame, they're the old guard. They might want to just try to stay with independence. But it says here that he's been labeled by most people that know him as a risk taker. So he may be finally inclined to do something, step outside the box and get Notre Dame married to one of the big two that they call now the big two, the Big Ten and the SEC. Once again, what do you guys and gals think? Drop in the comment section. Let me know. At the end of this article, though, they're predicting they think Notre Dame will, in fact, stay independent. But I don't. I think that this amount of money may actually force Notre Dame to join a conference. Now, whether it's the obvious choice of the Big Ten or the outside-the-box choice of the SEC, this guy's an outside-the-box kind of thinker. We shall see. And that's all I got to say about that. If you don't mind, there's a little heart down here, a heart thanks button at the bottom of this video. Can you hit that and donate to the show? And also, as I said earlier, there's the Outlaw Posse. If you want to get deputized, get your badge, get saddled up, mount up, and get your Four Horsemen shout out every video, do that. And I also have Cash App. I'm going to drop that link in the video of the description of this video, the Cash App. You can hit that if you want to cut the middleman out and just make sure all the money goes to the show. You can do that as well. Like, share, comment, and subscribe to this channel. And as always, KMCA. all the other teams. Class is now officially dismissed.